Oh, I heard something.
Yep, I was pushing dial in because I'm a retard
Uh,
instead of Wi-Fi.
nailed it at least.
What's happening, man?
Man, not much, man. It's been a while since we talked. I'm pumped to do this. Yeah, we haven't talked for a little while now,
Right,
and
right.
you've been quite busy.
A little bit. Yeah, I've done a few things. Just finished Akron half about an hour ago.
Yeah, yeah. How'd it go? How are you feeling?
Fine. I ran with a friend that's just come back from an injury. So we ran. She wanted a 2:30. We were actually 2:31.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, we had fun. So that's all that matters.
yeah, yeah. And man, I guess if anyone's listening to this that has not listened to any of the previous podcasts, for sure listen to the first one we did. I think that was super good of just like the whole backstory of everything that you've kind of went through. And I guess you could tell everyone what is the big event that you did recently that
Uh,
kind of sparked this conversation.
Five Lakes 200 miler. And somehow I was blessed to win that thing overall winner. Just, I ran a perfect race. I'll never run a race like that again mentally. Everything was perfect. Didn't have one dark period in actually 212 miles. Made a few wrong turns.
That seems almost impossible. You know what I mean? Because like in
I know
ultras,
it just,
even a 50 miler, it's really like common to just at least have some type of lower dark patch.
I didn't. It was amazing. Just everything, all the pieces fell into place. I mean, my nutrition, I ate no solid foods till about about mile 61 at that aid station. I shouldn't say that. I ate fruit, some fruits and honey stinger waffles. And other than that, I was using Scratch Lab hard high carb drink.
Okay, yeah, that's probably similar to Tailwind, I would assume, like their version of like a Tailwind type thing.
It's Tailwind makes me sick, but yeah, similar. Yeah, I had belly issues with Tailwind. Um, so each 16 ounce, yeah, 16 to 20 ounce, you mix 7 scoops with it. It's got 400 calories and
Okay.
35% of your carbs and like 20% of your salts. So, and of course, I ran, you know how I run. I
Yeah,
ran
you
a
go hard in
200,
the paint early on a lot.
I ran a 200 miler. I started no shirt and two handhelds, no pack. And so every aid station I left, I had 800 calories just in my handhelds with that drink, and I trained with it and knew I was hoping it would my belly would hold out, and it did. Amazing. And then I still did honey stinger waffles. Kind of tried to do it every hour to hour 20 minutes just to put something in my belly. And then at the aid stations, I would grab watermelon grapes. But other than that, no solid foods, no PBJ, nothing, nothing till that mile 61.
So aside from this race, the farthest you had gone was 150, right?
No, I didn't finish that race. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
the heck was it? Veterans Memorial 150. No, my farthest distance was 106 and a half miles in a 24-hour race. So
So how long ago was that one? The 106.
that was in September of 2019.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what made you all of a sudden decide like 200? I'm going for it.
Jeremy Followay, his prodding, he's a really good friend of mine, and he's the race director. And we work together on our painting stuff. Because I have my own paint business. So he works with me, and just him prodding me. Um, yeah, I didn't think I could do it. And he kept poking the bear, and I really didn't think I was going to run any hundreds this year, any ultras. Um, I had cancer diagnosis in November of 2022. 20, wait, what year are we in? 2020, 2022. February 2023, they removed my prostate. And 5 months and 1 week after my surgery, I won a 200-mile race.
That alone
And
is one of the most impressive stat lines you can hear.
Yeah, and I'm cancer free. It's in
Oh,
remission.
yeah.
It's in remission. We'll be checking it every 6 months for the next 5 years. Yeah. So as far as I know, I'm also the first guy with HIV to win a 200-miler too.
Yeah, I would say probably so. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
be very doubtful there was anyone else. You're in a very
Yeah.
exclusive category for sure. And you were 57 at the time of finishing that?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, I just turned 58 4 days ago.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I mean
Say
that is
October
another
1st.
thing of like,
3 days
how
ago.
many
Yeah.
how many, 50 plus year olds are finishing 200 milers. It's a short list for sure.
And it was, yeah, over 10 hours I won by also.
Oh yeah, that's a whole race. You know what I mean? That's like a 50 miler.
I went home, ate, showered, slept, and came down to watch Heather finish. Yeah, I came down to watch this. First place, she was first place female overall, and second place. And we go back. We ran some races together, so it was cool to see her finish as well.
And, I find it interesting. You said that you didn't think that you could finish it, which I find that funny because I hear a lot of like people saying like, oh, you need to believe in yourself, you need to do this and that. And I've always thought like you don't need to believe in yourself, you just need to try. You just need to try to do the
Yes,
things to get you there. You don't
absolutely.
have to believe.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, it was. I'm telling you, Wes, it was just I ran. I mean, I led till about mile 45, even the 100-milers.
You
And
were you were going
I
hard.
was I was going hard, and it felt good. And I came into the aid stations. There's just a lot that happened. So going into the race, I wasn't going to have any crew until about 6 p.m. Saturday, which would have been 14 to 16 hours before I had any crew. I had pacers and crew lined up from there out, but my girlfriend, who I guess she was kind of my girlfriend at the start of the race, but I mean, we had met back in December, 4th of July. We hung out down at her place in South Carolina. And the week after the race, she was supposed to fly up here for a week. She volunteered to drive up to crew me, never crewing a race before, never even being around an ultra. And without her there, I couldn't have done it either. I mean, I woke her up a few times. She was sleeping in her car, but having my nutrition in her car, that Scratch Labs drink, to be able to have at every aid station was the difference for me. And to see somebody, I mean, you've ran ultras, you know how refreshing it is to see people in an aid station that you know. Not to mention all the volunteers that with Race Brimstone, I know most of the volunteers also. And, I knew a lot of the runners out there too. So, but without her coming up from South Carolina, I doubt if I finished the way I did either. It was just amazing.
Take me through like your training. Like what did you do leading up to this with your running?
So my friend Summer, she had her goal race of 50-miler, and I kind of coach her and train her. We're actually best friends. We go back a while. So I had a couple 50K races on weekends planned, and then the week before, 5 Lakes, I ran her longest race, the Burning River 50-miler, a week before. And those were my longest training runs. My other training runs, I was doing back to back to backs. 18 to 20 miles 3 days in a row. Those were the majority of my long runs, other than the couple races I ran. Let's see, I did a trail marathon, Akron Trail Marathon, where I ran that in 4 hours. That was about a month out, maybe 5 weeks out. I did a 50K. I did a 50K the week before. I forget what race that was. It Akron Trail Marathon, and then a 50K the following week. A week off from there, and then Burning River 50. And then just various training runs. I did a lot of speed work. 1 day a week, I was running intervals, which I think that adds to your endurance too. So,
it's
but
funny
no
that you ran a 50 miler a week before, because that would fly in the face of like what anyone would prescribe, for a 2 month.
Well, yeah, but it was on the calendar, and it was my best friend's first 50 miler before I signed up for 5 Lakes.
Got to do it.
So she was injured like 3 weeks before the race, and a PT told her not to run. She actually rolled her ankle really bad at it was 3 weeks out. Buckeye Trail 50 miler, 3 miles from the finish line. I mean, she finished walking barefoot because she's badass, but she didn't think she went to the hospital after she got home that night. They told her, if it hurts, don't walk on it. She saw a PT a week later. She finally got in, or an ortho, I'm sorry. And it was just a high up ankle sprain, but it could require surgery. Stay off of it. Do what you think you can do. And she didn't run, but she went to PT, did stretches, and talking with a friend of ours who is a PTA, he said, well, if there's a threat of having surgery, go out. I say go out and do it. And she's perfect now. So the moral of the story is, if you have a bad ankle, run a slow 50.
That is the magic potion.
Yes, that was it. Yeah, and she's running great now. So it was slower. So it was actually 14 hours and 31 minutes. So it was more of a time on feet, which I think helped me also. I really do. I don't think it hampered at all.
Yeah,
and we had a blast. I got to watch
doing that.
Yeah, and I got to watch my best friend finish her first 50, which was really cool too. And it poured that day. We were 10 minutes late starting because we sat in the car till the downpour stopped. She's like, it's chip time. Who cares? I'm like, yeah, I agree.
True. So, going into the you can go ahead.
My mindset going in. So, like I said, I work with Jeremy probably 3 days a week. So going in and talking to him, and I knew part of the course. I didn't know most of it. But also the first almost 50 miles was mostly roads, and I run extremely well on roads. There was a lot of elevation. They weren't flat roads, and they were old dirt country roads. It was really pretty, actually, the country roads. And there was like this one place just sticks out. It was a 3-tiered cattle ranch. It was beautiful. And I guess they're not cattle. I don't know what you call them around here, cattle, cow, whatever but they were beef. They were definitely and they were just all black and sitting up on these 3 tiers, and you're going down this big hill. It was beautiful. And like I said, I run those roads so well. So I think that played into it. But just working with Jeremy and him saying, dude, you got this, you got this. And I told my friend Summer, who paced me also, and she ran that 50. I kept telling her, I'm just going to go out and win this bitch. Watch me. I'm going to go out and win this bitch. My friend Amanda, who met me at the 100-mile turnaround and paced me, she's who I ran with today. I told her I didn't go out. I don't think a lot of people knew I was running. I didn't go out and tell a whole lot of people. I didn't post nothing on Facebook, things like that. But the few friends closest to me, I told him I was going to win the bitch. Exactly like that. I said, I'm going to go out and win this bitch. So I went in with that, not arrogant or cocky, I was very confident. I was very confident in my training. It's not the hardest I ever trained, but it is for sure the smartest I've ever trained for any race. And it wasn't the hardest race I ever ran.
Really?
I ran the smartest race. Yes, it was. Physically it was not hard. I can't explain it. And there's part of me still, I haven't. It's just like, yeah, I did it. Big deal. I don't mean to sound like that. I haven't had that like aha minute that you won a 200-mile race. I just haven't yet. I don't know why. That's part of what I can't figure out. And I've really been struggling mentally with my running. I mean, I think, I tried to run 23 miles for 23 straight days in September for veteran suicide awareness. And after 9 days, I could not do it mentally. Um, I, it's weird. Summer, my friend summed it up pretty good. So I usually run my age on my birthday. I've done it in one way or another. It's either been miles or kilometers, depending on a race, every year since I was 50. And we went out Wednesday on my birthday to simply run 5.8 miles. And I couldn't even do that. We just talked. We ran, and she said, "You're an addict, Bob. You're kind of addicted. You don't have to go out there and say what if. You're chasing a dragon right now." Or not what if, what's next? And that's what my mind's been saying. What's next? What's next? I've accomplished a lot in running, a lot in life. Last week I was in town for my baby sister's wedding. I'm the oldest of 12 children. Because of my shitty choices in life, this was the first time all 12 of us were together since 2013, which my father's 87 and my mom is 82. They finally got a picture again of all 12 of us together. So running aside, that's way more special, and I forget to think about things like that. And it doesn't matter what's next. It'll come. I just have to start enjoying it again. And I think eventually I will understand. I don't want to say how amazing, just I guess how amazing it is to not just finish a 200. I was blessed to win one. I'm struggling with that. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah.
So maybe I gotta go out. Maybe I gotta go out and run a 200 and get crushed.
Yeah, maybe that helps swing things around. Yeah, it's really interesting that you were saying that, where she was saying it's kind of like chasing the dragon, thinking about what's next. Because I have a friend who he ran his first 200-mile race. I want to say maybe a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago. And
which one, Cowboy?
What's that?
The Cowboy 200.
He's up in Canada, so he ran.
Oh, okay.
I think it's called the Sinister Seven, I think, or something like that.
I
might have gotten the ones confused, but he just finished that 200-miler, and he had made a post on Facebook that I found really interesting, where he was talking about being done with it and kind of reflecting on it and trying to figure out. He said he feels like he's in this valley between goals, or he doesn't have anything on his calendar. He doesn't have something set up next. He's coming off this huge event where, he did this incredible thing. And there's like this weird feeling that comes in that valley where it's like, I don't have something to drive for. And I've been feeling that kind of myself too. Like I haven't done anything since Eagle Up really. And I haven't really planned anything next per se. And it's kind of like this weird feeling, because I'm so used to driving towards something, to having something that's pulling me forward, very consistently. And I've felt like I'm kind of in this space where I'm trying to, I don't know, I guess understand how to enjoy life from not from the perspective of chasing something, because I think it's almost like an addiction to the emotional state that comes with it, where you have a race, you're like, I'm training for it, I'm pushing for it, and it creates this emotional state that feels good. It is almost addictive in
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So it's really
So
interesting to
he's
hear you
feeling,
say that you're
yeah,
feeling that similar thing.
yeah. It's, and I mean, the rest of my life is going great. I got a girlfriend now. It's tough, not just dating in your late 50s. And regardless of what people think, dating with HIV is not easy.
Oh yeah.
There's a stigma. There's a stigma. People are like, oh, but look how strong you are. Look how healthy you are. Yeah, well, try dating. Trust me. You know, And I mean, she's selling her house in South Carolina and moving up to Canton, Ohio for
How
all
awesome.
this. Yeah, I mean, so there's so much good going on in life, and it's funny. So I didn't really have anything on the calendar either. And last Friday, a week ago Friday, we were driving to Toledo for the wedding, and Amanda texted me, and she just coming off an injury. She was supposed to run with a very good friend of hers, and they were both going to try and sub two their first marathon half, at Akron. And she got injured, and she's like, how would you feel like running beside a broken down runner and make it enjoyable? I'm like, what are you talking about? And she said, Akron half. I said, sure. And that's why I ran it. And, seeing her, she wanted to finish in 2:30, and she's sub 24 to 100, her first 100 last year at Canal Corridor. And at about the halfway point, she was in a dark space. It was crazy to see her because she was doing the math in her head and didn't think we'd finish in 2:30. And she was, a little whiny. And I said, listen, I don't care what time you finish in, you're always going to be my friend. I said, finishing these races at one point, I thought made us badass, but it doesn't. These physical things don't fucking matter in life. It's the things that we do to get to those physical goals, the people we meet. I said, me and you out here running the race. That's what it's about. It's not about that 2 hours and 30 minutes. It's about enjoying the time in between, the moments in between the miles. And maybe that's why I had to be out there to remind myself that also as I was reminding her. Because there was a time I just thought I was the most badass motherfucker in the world for finishing a 100-mile race, but that doesn't make us bad. It doesn't make us a badass. It really doesn't. I don't care what some of the people say, that you got the Dave Goggins out there that say it does. It's the training and it's the friendships we make and the people we inspire or that inspire us or encourage, or sometimes even the people that discourage us can be just as motivating because there are those people out there as well.
And it's interesting because I think we like hearing you say that, you went through a 200-mile race, didn't really hit a dark spot. She's doing a half marathon, I hit a dark spot. And it makes me think of how I think a lot of times we create our own dark spots in those races.
Absolutely.
I had it during Eagle Up, where like my goal was to get 124 hours. And once I'm getting deeper and deeper into the race, I'm slowing down a little bit. Started doing the math in my head. I was like, man, I don't think that's
Talk yourself
happening.
right out of
And I
it.
hit like a
Yes.
dark spot because I placed this expectation on the entire experience. And in reality, I was just running. I was moving. But in my head, I created this whole story of why I'm doing this,
Absolutely.
what I'm here for. And then I wasn't meeting my criteria, which made me feel worse in the moment when
Yeah,
there's nothing to
almost.
feel worse
Yeah,
about.
almost inferior, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Where it's like, well, if I'm
Yeah.
not going to hit 124 hours, why am I even doing this? You
Well, if,
know?
if that makes you feel any better about that, I've ran Eagle Up every year and have not hit 100 yet. I don't know why. And I've ran over 100 miles in 3 different 24-hour races now, and I'm sub 24. I don't know why I can't there.
I mean, it was cooking hot that day.
It was, I agree. Yeah, this past year it was.
I think in most years it's probably pretty hot. I'm not sure like what
It
other like.
is. It usually is, but that's just an excuse too, because you've ran 100 miles in steamy, humid weather too at Tuscazor. So
Yeah, it
humid,
was a little
maybe
warm
not
then.
steamy, it was humid. Yeah. So for me, since I moved out to this area, I think the hardest part for me is I'm 20 minutes away from my bed.
Yeah.
Serious. I mean, 2 years ago when I ran, that was the year I should have been able to hit 100, but I PR'd my 50 mile by over an hour. And that was 8:42 50-mile race. And I sat down for 40 minutes and I'm like, well, I'm still at 9.5 for a 50 miler. That means I have 14 hours to go out and get 50 more miles to finally hit 100 on this. And then I sat there for a little bit longer. I'm like, yeah, it's hot. My air conditioner, my king size bed, and I went home. Satisfied. I was satisfied though with my PR. So that's just a tough race for me because you didn't hit 100 this year, did you?
No, I got,
Yeah,
oh, well, I watched at 86. I guess I'm probably an 85 or something like that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a tough one to for what and all the other ones, all the other loop races, fixed time races I ran around 1 mile loops, and none of them were close to home. So I don't know if it's the 1 mile. 5 miles is a long loop.
Yeah, yeah, for sure it
And
is.
not
Yeah.
that one, and it is monotonous out there. Not that a 1 mile loop isn't monotonous, but on a 1 mile loop, you're around people the whole time.
Yeah.
And when it gets dark out there at Eagle Up, you're alone a lot of times, unless you got pacers. Where even if you don't have pacers on the 1 mile loops, there's always people out there. It's a 1 mile loop. You see people.
And I feel like
You know,
the 1 mile gives you this really, it's really easy to wrap your mind around doing another loop when it's 1 mile. You're like, oh,
it's
it's 1 mile.
so easy. Oh yeah,
Five makes a big
yeah.
difference. Yeah.
It does. It makes a huge difference. Yes, I agree 100%. And I think that's part of the problem at that race. I'll still run it every year. It's one of my. I've made so many friends in what I think 6 years. It started in 2016. Was it for? And I was the overall male winner the first year at
Which
85 miles.
is, for people that don't know, that is an accomplishment because there's a lot of people doing different distances, but there's a lot of people doing every distance. Like some people obviously a lot of people aren't going the full 24, but there's a lot of people going for the full 24. So to rank high in that race is quite difficult.
Yeah, it was, but it was the first year there weren't the numbers that there are now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I hit 85 miles, and the woman, Mary Johnson, who's a very good friend of mine now, she beat me by 25. She hit 105. So, but
Lion.
I was still the overall. Yeah, she was. Yes, yeah. And I don't think she's hit a race like that again. You probably know her from some. She comes in. She lives in Pennsylvania, but she runs every race, Brimstone race.
I'm sure I've seen
So
her at some
yeah,
point.
yeah, I'm sure you have too. Yeah, she's super. She runs Eagle Up every year. Super nice woman. A little bit younger than me, but yeah, yeah, she crushed me by 25 miles. And every time we see each other, I remind her, or if I don't remind her, she reminds me.
Yeah,
But
never forget.
I
Never
was,
forget
but
that.
I was like on that day, I was still, you look back, I was still the overall winner, which is really cool. It is cool to be able to. I've been blessed to win, yeah, a number of races. A
Do you
number.
think
I ran.
the 200 mile is like your most meaningful win, or does something else stick out to you?
Yeah, it probably is, but it's not my most meaningful race. That my most meaningful will always be kind of a tie in 2016 when I ran with Aaron Hale, who's a blind and deaf veteran, to his still to this date PR at the Akron Marathon. We ran a 3:52 marathon, and that was like 6 months after he came out of a coma from meningitis.
Wow.
And he was just learning how to hear with his cochlear implant. And then in 2020, I was blessed to run a 100-mile race side by side with him. He finished at Canal Corridor. Those are two that will forever be like so cool. And he finished Badwater this year. which is
Oh,
amazing.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
next level.
he is an amazing guy. Yeah, yep.
Yeah,
So
the
yeah, those. I mean, there was a race in Arizona that was really cool that I won because the two guys in second and third, their combined age was 3 years younger than me. So that was really cool. It was a 35K, I think, but it was at night in the mountains. It was really cool. And I didn't know I won because it was no, it was a 450, it was a 50K. It was 50, 40, 30, 20, and 10K. And they all started 15 minutes apart. And it was the same 10K loop. So I had no clue where I was
yeah,
because there were so
you're just
many
going.
people out there. Yeah. And you come up this hill to the finish line and I was dead. I know I ran really well and I'm just walking and my friends are like cheering me on and they're like, come on, you're almost there. You gotta go, you gotta go. He's right behind you. And that young kid was flying, trying to catch me. He knew where he was, but I had no clue. And I walked across the finish line and I looked at them on the podium before they did the awards. And I'm just like, man, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to be a douche or a dick. I said, I had no idea I was in first place and I was beat. He goes, it's all good. So he made up like 30 seconds in me in the last quarter mile. It was hilarious, but I still won. So that one, I remember that one. That was pretty cool just because of the age difference. And we had a fun little busted balls, all three of us on the stand too. It was really cool. So, I mean, there's some that stand out like that. I mean, I walked across the finish line at the 200. I
Yeah,
walked. It
I'm assuming.
was
How was your body feeling at the end? Like, were you running much? Like say the
No,
last.
the last 26 I could not run.
Oh
So
yeah,
and I think the difference between me and all the other 200 milers was and it went Jeremy, he didn't want me to do it. So you're allowed to leave the course from an aid station. You're supposed to leave your timing chip or sign out at that aid station. So my plan was to get a hotel room and I did. And um Cindy was like, I mean, like I said, she'd never been around. She said, all your friends are saying you shouldn't. You won't get up. You won't get up. I said, screw them. I know what I'm doing. So I
in
had
true Bob
called
Moore fashion.
exactly, you know me. Yes. So I called called her coming into 60 to the 68. I called her at like mile 65 and coming into the mile 68 aid station. I was pretty beat up. I was tired. I ran very hard. And I said, I'm done for the night. I said, find a hotel. And all of a sudden, I'm on speakerphone. I didn't know it. My friend Summer was there, and she says, the fuck if you're done. Stop being a bitch. I did not drive an hour and a half down here to not run this next 13 miles till mile 81. Suck it up, bitch. Click. They hung up on me. And I'm like, holy fuck. And it did actually energize me. It energized me. I got into that aid station and I said, don't even get in my face right now. I said, I know you want to run. I said, we will run. I said, let me. And that was the first time I was tired. But I said, let me get something to eat. And I had made my own food mostly, and I had cold pierogies. I ate about 4 pierogies. I drank some of the Scratch Lab. Um, I still had that point, had not done any sugar or anything like that. And thinking I know I ate those pierogies, and I think just some fruit, and then filled up my bottles. And no, that is where I wore my vest too. I put my vest on with some extra food and stuff because I knew it was getting dark. We had to run with our headlamps. I hadn't ran, so I ran 81 miles with no, or I'm sorry, 68 with no headlamp. I ran that, and I forget what time, but I knew we were going to start moving slower for the next 13, and we weren't going to see there was an aid station in between that 13, but I was not going to see Cindy and the crew. and Summer's boyfriend till that mile 81 aid station. So I did wear my pack there, and I packed it with just some junk and some more pierogies in a Ziploc bag. And we went off from there, me and Summer, and it was a run walk. I finished. I When we left the course at 81 miles, it was 18 hours. So I was running
a real good pace.
Oh yeah, I was still, there was only 200 milers ahead of me, and they were just barely ahead of me. So, and that's when we went and got the room. From the time we left to go do our 13 miles from mile 68, Summer's boyfriend Jake and Cindy knew they weren't going to see me for, I said, a good 3 hours, and it was closer to 3.5 for that 13 miles. But it was in the trails, and it was at night, and there's a ton of elevation through there. They went and got Chinese food before our Chinese restaurant closed, booked our room. So all we had to do was go there, put the key in, left the course, like I said, in 18 hours, slept for 5 hours in a king size bed with a shower before I laid down, Chinese food. And I wanted to be back to that aid station. I think the goal was to be back there by 5. We got there about 5:30 because I didn't want to run with a headlamp. And, that was in August. It was still semi light. And so I took off without a headlamp. And I finished, I got to the turnaround. But when I woke up in the hotel room, I thought I made a mistake. I was very crampy. It was bad. My hips, I did my activation stretches. I always do. I actually went down to the breakfast bar and had biscuits and gravy and got dressed. Still felt a little tight in the car till we got there. Had filled up my bottles, got everything, and I took off, and I was running 9:30s on the roads from there
What
out.
did you feel like? Like what was going through your mind when you woke up in the motel room? Like were you feeling like, okay, let's get back out there, or did you have like
Oh
the
yeah,
full like
no. Well, at first I was like, oh man, this was a mistake. But then I just started moving. I'm like, I gotta get out there because I knew. So the girl in second place we were really good friends. I'd say acquaintances now, which maybe someday we'll get over. But I knew she had probably passed me, so that was irritating me. So I wanted to get back out there, and I finished the 100 in 30, just under 36 hours, and that was with 5 hours sleeping, and it was about 40 minutes each way to the hotel room. So
oh wow,
there
yeah,
and
sure,
back.
probably nothing
Yeah.
close
So
by.
yeah, I was off course for about 7 hours and finished in 36, just under 36, the 100. And I had passed them. They had made the turnaround, and it was an out and back. So I passed them. I was about at mile 97. So that would put her at about 103,
Oh wow, so really not far behind. I mean, a 200 mile
No,
race.
no, I caught her that. Yeah, I caught her that night. Yeah. We both stopped at the same aid station. And then from there out,
I'm curious. When we
was
went
a
back to the
lot
motel
stronger.
room, were you like showering and everything like that? Or
Oh,
are you
yeah,
just
I
going?
showered.
Yeah, that.
No, I showered. Well, I got in, I was stinking, dude. I was stinking for sure. So
Yeah.
I told Cindy, I'm like, I'm going to eat some of this first. And I'm just shoveling this, what I get, chicken and broccoli and rice. I'm just shoveling it in. And I said, I want to eat part of that, get in the shower. Then I got in the shower. And I mean, I scrubbed. I didn't just rinse off.
Oh yeah,
I got all the filth off
man.
me, finished some more of that, and then laid in that bed. And I was restless. I had the restless legs like you do for about 45 minutes. And then I was good. I didn't, till my alarm went off.
I tell
I
you,
didn't get
it's
up
like
once.
that was a risky strategy for sure because I'm sure it'd be easy to want to just stay there and quit. But I tell you,
Yes.
the the type of like refreshingness of being freshly showered
Oh, man,
is
it's amazing.
yeah, you can't
No,
understate that.
no, no. And then, so then when I got to when you come out of the woods at mile 100, you see the finish line right there, but you got to go around this huge parking lot, all these cones, like about half a mile. And but you come out of the woods and it's right here. And I see Amanda, my pacer, and Cindy, and they're screaming and yelling. So I almost cut the course. I did cut the course for a second. I didn't see the cones going that way. And Jeremy's there and he gets on the loudspeaker, "You got to go around the parking lot." I'm like, ah, fuck. So there was two other guys, Bob Smaltz and Greg Verbeck, who were running the 200 also, that I caught then. There were about four in front of me with me leaving the course. And I just picked them each off. And so I caught them, and then I'm like, and I was running really well, but I just did. They're both friends of mine, so I didn't like want to. I walked with them till the start finish line, because at that point it doesn't matter, you know.
Oh yeah.
I still had 100 miles. We both, all three of us, had 100 miles to go, and I looked at him. I said, ah, fuck, Amanda's there. She's gonna be in my face. Want to get going? I said, I just ran that. I ran that 20 miles or 19 from 81. I ran that in like 4.5 hours, and it was all trails, all single track, a little bit of road. So I was beat, and I was like, she's gonna be in my face and want to go. And I did the same thing I did this summer. I said, stay out of my face. I need to chill for a minute. And I just sat down for a minute to take it all in. It's overwhelming, kind of. You're like, I just finished 100. I got 100 more.
Yeah, that's what I was curious about. Of like what, like 100. You're like your body is hurting. You have everything going on.
Amazing. Yeah. Part of me was just like, well, shit, I know the course now. This is going to be a breeze. I literally felt that way. I think I ate solid food most of that second day, mostly those pierogies, those things, and not warmed up, boiled and cooked, and then I had them in a Ziploc bag. They were amazing. I mean, I had no belly issues whatsoever on this race, and I almost always do. Yeah, I almost always do. But I also didn't eat sugar like I usually do. No gummies, none of the garbage that I usually do for that quick.
Is it something that's energy? That like you have stomach issues? Because I have stomach issues, like especially if I'm hitting. Once I get close to the 50K mark and above, I seem to start developing some stomach issues, and especially.
What are you eating though?
I'm for like Tuscazor. I was mostly doing potatoes. I was doing trail mix. That had some like M&Ms in it and stuff. I definitely had some sugar. I think I learned a lesson at Eagle.
I think the sugar gives us the heartburn and that belly issue. And if you're like Gatorade, for example, if you drink that straight up and it feels like it's sloshing in your belly, it's because it's got too much sugar in it and you can't absorb the nutrients.
Yeah, I was thinking I'm gonna have to really, maybe next race I think I'm gonna have to test out like maybe like almost no sugar and just see, because the stomach issues is what really messed me up at Eagle Up, and my sugar intake was higher than it normally was. I ate some foods that I probably shouldn't have.
I didn't even drink any. I didn't even drink any Coca-Cola till probably mile 150, and just a little bit of it. I drank a lot of iced coffee too that second day. And when we left, like I said, that mindset, when we left 100, it was like, man, I know the course. This is going to be a breeze. I know what I'm up against now. And just having Amanda there, so I'm sitting there trying to relax and chill, and she's up and down and ready to go, right? And she says, well, I got something for you first. And she turns on a song on the radio, and she actually sang Living on a Prayer, serenaded me to it, Bon Jovi. Especially, she just emphasized, oh, you're halfway there.
How do you even think about that? It fits so well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was the perfect. And I'm just, she had me giggling and laughing so much. It was just time to go again. And we went out and we ran that next section really well on the open roads where we had no protection. We had a major downpour. It was just pouring. It was so freaking miserable. But she made it, she did what a pacer, she took my mind off of it. So I didn't go into a dark place. And we started singing together, singing in the rain, the old, I don't know, like 40 song, you know? And we got through it. And when we got to that next aid station, which was like what, 119 miles, I guess it was, 121, whatever. I'm like, the next is 13 miles from here till I meet Summer. Or no, 13 miles till I was going to crash for the night. I think. Took me to like 164, I think, whatever. That was the plan. I was going to stop at 164 for the night. And she's like, dude, you killed me. I can't do the next 13 with you. You're running way too fast for me. So, and she was honest, and I thanked her for that. And I was leaving her on a couple of the trails. I was just running. I had like a kindred spirit with me. It was amazing. And so she left me. I ran to there to the second night, and that's when I caught Heather. Was she had already finished that section, and she slept at that aid station as well. And it was at I guess it's Tappan Lake beachfront or beach house. So they had showers there. Once again, I took a shower, changed clothes, stretched my toes, got them out, everything. Tried to sleep in Cindy's car. She got a nice car, big reclining seats, but my legs were cramping because I couldn't lay them out straight. And I was getting a little nervous. So then I tried to lay across the back seat, and still I couldn't stretch out. And she's like, are you going to be okay? And I'm like, I don't know. I said, you know what? Fuck it. I said, throw that fucking comforter on the grass out there, cover me up, and spray me with off. and that's what I did. The grass was wet. I felt that, so it was just dewy wet. It was about 11 at night. Thankfully, I didn't hear a mosquito all night. I didn't get bit up. My legs were restless once again. It wasn't great sleeping on the ground, but it was what I needed. And then I saw them take off, and Cindy's like, you got to go. They left. They're in front of you. I'm like, what time is it? And it was like 5:15. And I said, you know what? I'm going to wait about half an hour, maybe even 45 minutes. I don't feel like putting a headlamp on my noggin. So I waited till it got light enough till I left, and the rest was all the way down. Then I passed them, and actually they made a wrong turn. I never physically passed them. And then as I just kept running that day, that would have been Monday morning, I was running in the tens. I mean, on the flats, I was getting down to like 940s again. I couldn't
wild.
believe it, Wes. It was just, yeah, it was just amazing.
Why do you think that is? Like, why do you
I
think
think it
you were
was the
able?
back-to-back-to-backs. I think it was those back-to-back-to-back runs. And I also incorporated in those runs a lot of 0.9, 0.1 run walks. I'd run for 0.9, walk for 0.1, and then 0.9, 0.1, which would make it a different 0.1 every time, or I'd go 0.9 and then do 0.2, which would be the last mile, and the first mile, the next mile in my training. And I think that stopping and going in those back-to-back-to-backs helped that a lot. I really do. And then from there, it would just run until that we got to Atwood Lake. And from there, it was 26 miles to the finish line of roads. And Summer was there, and I looked at her and I sat down. I came in kind of running to that aid station, but I was beat, and the hips hurt, the quads hurt. every time I tried to run, they actually physically hurt. I could not run. I had stamina still. I just couldn't physically run. Um, and I also knew at that point the two leaders or the two behind me were about 6 hours at that point. And come to find out, Josh, Jeremy's other partner, he came up to me. They were wrong. There were two aid stations behind me. And at that point, they were about 8 hours behind me when they thought they were 6. So at that point, I just knew all I had to do was keep moving. And at that point, I knew I was going to win. I knew at that's when I finally, the rest of it, I still thought I could win. But at that point, I just looked at Summer and I'm like, we're winning this bitch. Let's go. So
That'd have been
there
a
was some
cool
fun.
feeling to have that
It
much
was
left in the race, and you're able to just fully enjoy the experience.
relaxed. And I think that might have been why I couldn't physically run either. I knew I didn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
So if they were closer, I probably could have done it. But they were just
like if a bear was chasing you, you'd have been able to run.
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And we did run. So at that point, it was roads mostly, and we actually did a mile. The mile. So I ended up with 212 miles. Her and I did do a mile out and back the wrong way. And at that point, I thought that they were closer, the two behind me. And I just looked at her. I'm like, man, we really fucked up there because I was walking and it was up a big hill going up. We got to come down out and back. I'm like, they just made up not just 2 miles, but they made up doggone an hour on us because it was 30 out and back. I was not moving, especially up that hill, not that good.
Oh yeah, and coming down, man, that's a rough one on the quads when that deep into it.
And it was like at that point too. That's when I still thought they were only like 4 hours behind. And a little bit after that's when Josh came up and said, "Oh, we were wrong. They're at the aid station behind that one." Like, oh, cool. So yeah, I'm good now. So Summer also put my two pacers out in the middle of nowhere. Another wicked downpour. I mean, Wes, it was like just wicked, nowhere to go in the middle of these country farm roads, not even trees to go underneath, no thunder or lightning, just downpour. And she did the same thing Amanda did, just kept me moving, laughing. We've been through worse than this. Don't forget, you ate out of dumpsters, Bob. You can do anything. And she'd remind me shit like that. And then when it stopped raining, we were good. I mean, it was still summer and the road was warm. So as soon as it stopped raining, the humidity came right back up and you were warm. So it wasn't terrible. It was miserable, but not, like I said, not darkness mind miserable at all.
Yeah.
It was just, it could have been worse if I didn't have a pacer with me, or if I didn't have if I would have had a whiny pacer with me, probably would have been worse. And as soon as that last storm stopped, Summer's like, how about a picnic? I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? Picnic out in the middle of nowhere. And she reaches into I had my pack on then too, because those were the only 2 times when I was Summer that I wore my pack. I knew 26 miles was going to be slow. So I had some stuff in there. She reaches into my pack and pulls out a fucking meatball sub from Subway that I had no clue she put in there. She said, "This is the picnic I'm talking about, bitch." And we're walking down the road eating a meatball sub. And she said, "I had to sneak it in your pack," she said, "because I can't be your mule. Don't want to break any rules." So it was funny. Yeah. And then the rest of it was just slow moving, slow. I mean, I don't know. You look at my Coros or my Strava, I was anywhere from 16 to 28 minutes those last 26 miles.
Yeah, I mean, that's still honestly at that point. I mean, that's still
I was
like
moving, yeah.
Yeah, you're still going pretty good at that.
Then the last 10 miles, you get to Tuscazor and you run from Tuscazor down through a little bit. I think it's part of the Nomies course actually, till you get on that lower towpath, and then you take that into Fort Lauren, and it's all flat from there. But it's 10 miles, and going in, summer got me there. I was exhausted, and my plan was I knew how far they were behind me. I was going to sleep in Cindy's car for a minute, uh, probably an hour and take off. But my buddy Phil, who he's a jarhead, and him and his wife had just got back from doing the what do you call it, the Pacific Crest. They went from the Mexican border to the Canadian border for their honeymoon, and they literally got in town 36 hours before I saw them. They were there, and they said, "We're here to take you home." And I'm like, well, that's all fine and dandy. I said, I got to sleep. I need to rest. All right. They didn't pressure me or anything. Josh had a burger cooked. He had his Blackstone in the back of his truck. That was for the aid station. He had a burger. I didn't want any bun. I didn't want the bun. I just wanted protein. I ate that. I drank a nice coffee. And he said, I got another burger. I said, yeah, give me that. And I looked at Cindy and I knew she was exhausted. I said, you know what? Fuck that. If I sleep for an hour, that's an hour less till we get home. I said, I know these two will keep me moving. And I went with Phil and his wife, and we power hiked it to the finish line. And they told me all about the hiking out there and everything they saw and how beautiful it is. Really cool. It was really cool that they were there. Just everything they saw out west, you know. So when they needed money, they washed dishes and in towns along the trail, Pacific Crest Trail. I mean, they're living like the hippie life. He's one of my heroes. I think you may know Phil and Megan from Tuscazor too.
Maybe,
Phil
maybe.
Killebrow, but yeah, they're just awesome people, and they were there for me. And you know, he's he still is telling me, you know, as we're going in, do you know how badass this is? You know how incredible. He said, dude, you had cancer in February. He said, do you remember talking to me and you were whining because you were pissing your diaper and your labor and your lazy boy? I'm like, yeah, dude, thanks. And it was. I mean, you know, it is. I'm a blessed man for sure. You know, I was. I mean, in March, I'm sitting in my lazy boy with the diaper on, pissing myself. You know, and
Yeah, March. It
I,
was that
I
April, May, June, July. Oh, yeah, 6 months or so. Less than six, a little bit less than
yeah,
6 months later. How
yeah,
did it
yeah.
feel? How did it feel like when you saw the finish line? What are you feeling relief? Are you excited, or is it just like okay, you know?
Still, there was no emotion there, Wes. It was just
Yeah,
like, yeah,
there's like an emotional dead zone at a certain point. It feels.
I crossed. I sat in a chair, and they're like, "What can we get you? You can have anything you want. You want a ribeye?" I said, "I want Cindy to take me fucking home so I can shower and go to fucking bed. That's it." And that was literally it. I didn't, you know, I finished in I think 72 hours and 20 minutes. You know, it's not by far one of the fastest 200-mile races ever or anything like that, but I was blessed to be the fastest on the course for those 3 days.
Yeah, it's
And
so interesting that like, because I've experienced that most of the times I cross the finish line where you just don't really feel anything. And it's kind of a cool
no,
area to be in where it's just like you're almost like so hyper just existing like in the moment
yes,
that it's just
yeah,
like I'm not excited because I'm not thinking about what it took to get here. I'm not thinking about anything. It's just what you're doing right now is just what you're doing. It's really interesting.
yes, yep, yeah. Just, I mean, and like I said, still, it just has not been like, you know, dude, you won a 200-mile race. You know, not many people do that. Not many people finish a 200-mile race. You know,
Oh
so
yeah.
I mean, I'm humble about it. I'm very, you know, I don't take it for granted. Yeah, I think I do take it for granted. Like going in, I told you I knew I was going to do it. So I don't know if that's good or bad, or you know how I can eventually. I guess someday it'll be like, you know, maybe when I can't run anymore, it'll be
Yeah, I
like,
don't. Yeah,
remember
something
you did
like that is
that.
always. It's almost like I don't know. It's almost like I feel like almost like a rubber band thing where it's like it takes a while for your I don't know, your brain or your soul to fully like bring all those experiences in and process them and appreciate them, you know?
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, and I did run it for as a fundraiser for Wishes Can Happen. So we were able to raise almost $2,000 for wishes for kids that have severe illnesses. That was cool. That part's always cool to be able to do that with this
Yeah.
gift of running.
And
Yeah,
I think also part of it could just be, 200 miles is so incredibly taxing on your body, no matter who you are. It takes, I mean, it does take a lot, even if you feel good. It takes a lot out of you. And
it
I also
does.
think part of it could just be that like your body, even if you feel good right now, I mean, that is a tremendous amount of effort. I think part of it could just maybe be your body is still just kind of catching up and getting back to a baseline, because I found that especially after really hard efforts, it's not that it takes enjoyment out of things, but I won't have as strong of an emotional reaction to things for a while until I feel like I've fully recovered. So I don't know if maybe some
Right.
of it is
That
just
might be it.
your
Yeah.
body getting back to it.
I mean,
'Cause,
my running parts feel great, but my stamina is definitely not there. It just
yeah.
isn't. I mean, and then I jumped right in. I mean, I ran 23 miles, 9 straight days, less than a month after I finished that race.
Oh yeah. I mean,
And I mean a tough 50K the end of August, and then I stopped at the 50-mile mark of Tuscaloosa, also in first place. And it
yeah.
was another one of those, mostly doing the math in my head. So I ran the first 25 in 440, I think it was, just under 5 hours, somewhere between 440 to 448, something like that. The first 25-mile loop I did. And then the second was 10 hours and 20 minutes. So right there, I'm doing the math already, which I shouldn't have. I'm like, well, shit, that second loop was 6 hours. That means the third's going to be 8, and that fourth's going to be 10. I don't feel like being out here 18 more hours.
Hmm.
And my body I was exhausted. I really was. Um,
Oh
my
yeah. I
running
mean,
parts,
as
like
you
I said,
should
were
be,
good.
you know.
My stamina was just, I was exhausted, which it ended up being a good thing. We went home. I showered. I was back down there about 7 the next morning to work at an aid station till the race ended. A friend of mine asked me how I'm feeling. She doesn't think she can finish. Do you have 9 miles in you? I said, yep. So I was able to run with a friend, walk, whatever, pace a friend her last 9 miles, and she finished. She finished her 100 miles. So that was really cool too. And for whatever reason, I almost only wore my slides, and I did have running shoes on and basketball shorts. I looked like
Hey,
a rookie runner pacing her.
Courtney Dauwalter way.
Oh yeah, yeah, it was funny, but yeah, so it turned out the right way it was supposed to, for sure.
Yeah.
But
And honestly, I think in like maybe a few months, if your body like your body might catch up a little bit. I would guess that maybe in a few months, once your everything kind of comes back online completely. I feel like yeah, like maybe the experience will feel more. I don't know. I think it will just have like a deeper meaning maybe because I totally get that
yeah,
where you finish and it's kind of like okay, and it's just yeah. I think once your body feels better, it kind of brings all those systems back online.
yeah, yeah, it was fun. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it was a blast, 100%. So cool. And yeah, I think also what Summer said, looking what's next in my life. But there's a lot of what's next, and they don't involve physical things, just living in a moment right now,
Yeah,
you
I
know.
guess yeah, because normally I would ask you like, oh, what race do you have planned next? But I guess like a more appropriate question would be like, what
I do
are you
have a
planning to do
couple.
to relax and enjoy what you have?
I do have a couple races coming up, running with friends,
Yeah.
and I'm just going to have fun with them right now. We do have Summer wants to PR marathon on the 29th. It's called the Haunted Forest Marathon. It's basically on the Eagle Up Loop. It's on the towpath down there. It's a 13-mile out and back. She wants to run that in 4:15. So, I mean, that's going to be fun running that with her. And there's another. Oh, I'm running with a fiance's boyfriend, a very good friend of mine. Her fiance is running his first half marathon in Columbus in like a month from now, and I'm running that with him. He asked me to run that with him. And other than that, I don't know. Nothing right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing.
Just
And I think that's what I'm going to do. If people ask me to run with them, I'll run with them. I signed up for a 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift next weekend at Canal Corridor to volunteer.
Oh yeah. I
So,
forgot that's
yeah.
happening.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to doing that because I've ran that race 19, 20, 21, 22, 4 years in a row. Did I run in 2018 also? No, 4 years in a row I've ran that race. So it's time to get back to it. And I know it's like a home course for a lot of us down here. And I know a lot of people out there. And I know a lot of people at the aid stations. So it'll be fun too. And I'll have clothes with me if somebody needs a pacer. I'll be more than ready. I mean, if somebody asks me to pace the last 50 miles of a race, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. I mean, I know I am because that's a commitment, and that's like with a purpose, running with a purpose. You're not running for yourself or a goal, you're helping someone else. And it's always easier, I think.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not self-motivated or self-driven. You're there to support your friend. Or it could be somebody you don't even know. I ran 50 miles Burning River 4 years ago. Just put my name out there on the page and met a woman from Venezuela. From Venezuela, and we're friends now. I ran her last 50 with her. She taught me how to swear in Spanish and a lot of stuff.
Oh,
We
the
had
important thing.
a lot of
Yeah.
fun. Yeah, yeah, it was fun, and she's a friend. I mean, she asked me for advice. I asked her for advice. She went through some stuff in her life. Yeah, really cool.
Yeah.
And I haven't done that for a long time. I don't know why it just reminded me myself of that. But yeah, you can always go on any of the race web sites and say, "Hey, I'm available to pace."
Yeah,
You
meet
can
some
meet
cool
a random
people, go to a
person.
race, get some
Yeah,
running. Yeah.
meet a random person that ends up becoming a lifelong friend. Because
Yeah.
you run
Yeah.
the last 50 miles of a 100-mile race with somebody, you get to
Get to
know
know
them.
some.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's like a super deep, close, like emotional experience.
Yeah. It's a bond. Yeah. It's like running into a jackass with a Mohican shirt on at Dick's Sporting Goods, right?
Yeah, some weirdo just sporting that before you know it.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I told Amanda I'm like, yeah, we met at Dick's right after Mohican in 2019.
Yeah.
And wasn't it 2019? Yeah. Yeah. It was
Actually,
pre-COVID,
I
wasn't
think
it?
it would have been earlier than that. Let me think. I was 24 when I ran the Mohican Marathon. We probably met maybe a year, or maybe it was 2 years later. It might have been 2000. I think it was like 2018, maybe.
Okay. Yeah. That would
Maybe
make
my
sense.
timeline is not great on that, but I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
something like
No,
that.
it was pre-COVID. It was pre-COVID for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Pre-COVID. Listen to me. I said I would never say that. Damn. Pre when our governments tried to steal all our freedoms. How about that?
And everything else. Yeah, I tell
And
you, it's
everything
funny
else,
too
right?
because I don't know. It has been great knowing you, and I do not consider it luck that we met. You know what I mean? I feel
No,
like
absolutely not. It was
that
destiny.
was something
Yeah.
that was supposed
It's
to
funny.
happen.
I love seeing it because I'm like, holy shit. We had no friends in common 4 years ago on social media, and there's like 30 of them now that we each know from the races, and a lot of them are people that I've known a long time, and I'm like, that's really cool. Wes has been
Yeah,
able to connect with friends of mine and ultra friends, and yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
it really,
awesome.
if it wasn't for you, I would not have ran the 100 miler that year at Tuscaloosa. It was 100% you putting that into my brain to do it. And Tuscaloosa doing the 100 that year was such a huge moment for me, like such like a transformational experience that
It's
I wouldn't
awesome.
have had if it wasn't for you. So I don't know if I ever
Well,
voiced it.
thank
That
you.
I truly am grateful to you for being that person in my life. Like you have
Well,
had a
thank you,
legitimate,
Wes.
like
Yeah.
inspirational and positive effect on my life. Very much
And
so.
look, you have on mind, and then how many of the, like I said, people that you've met through running with your
Yeah.
podcast and everything else. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's an
It's been
awesome
really fun.
community.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
It
that
is
was
the
all
best
like,
community that you can find anywhere for
yeah.
sure.
I mean, my recovery community, my men's group in 12-step recovery is important to me for sure. There's no doubt. I don't want to compare the two, but they're equally important. There's no doubt. And there's a couple of the older gentlemen and by older I mean they've been in recovery a lot longer than me. Not necessarily physically older. Are starting to understand it. They've met me and sent friend requests and see my social media, and they understand how important the running is to my life. And I look at some of them, and they go to 3, 4, 5, 12-step meetings a week. And I used to be like, man, that sucks that they got to go to that many, but that's their running, and
Hmm.
that's their thing. And when I listen to them, they're like, the reason I keep coming is to see somebody that first comes into recovery with that dead look in their eyes, and 30 days later, see them this, 90 days later. And then 3 years later, I see them living a happy life. That's
Hmm.
why they go to the meetings. I go to the meetings to keep myself sober, and I go to one meeting a week religiously. Once in a while, I mix another. But they said to me after they saw my social media, "We get you running now," because some people in traditional recovery are like, "No, you can't have, that can't be as important as your recovery." And me, hey, fuck you. I'm gonna
Yeah.
do what I have to do for me, and they see it, and that makes me feel good when they see that you know, that they do see. And for me, it's also life out of recovery too. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
it's a huge, yeah. Like, and I tell people, normal people don't run 100-mile races. There's there's some kind of trauma. Most of the time there is. I'm not going to say always, but there's some kind of trauma or something that people went through in life that run and finish 100-mile races. We're all in recovery from something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've met people,
There's
drug
some type of drug.
addiction,
Yeah, like a 5K, you kind of just run for whatever for fun. But
right.
the barrier to entry for 100 and to finish a 100 is so high. There has to be some type of motor behind getting through that experience. And I'm sure it
I
varies
believe
a
so
lot,
too.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I've met a lot of people from across the country, and almost all of them have some kind of story, you know,
oh yeah,
whether they
that's always
lost their
the
son.
most interesting thing to me when I meet someone who's like done a 100 miler. I'm like, tell me why. There's something.
Yeah,
It's not just
right,
I thought it was cool, so I just did it. There's
right.
something in there.
Something that drives you. I remember running with a friend that is California recovery. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So he smokes weed, but whatever.
yeah.
I don't judge at
Hey,
all. If you're not
if your
sticking a
life's good,
needle, yeah, if you're not sticking a needle in your arm and you're smoking a joint every now and then, God bless you.
yeah.
You're not sticking a needle in your arm. But anyways, we were running and we were doing a long run. It wasn't a race. I don't know, 20, 25-mile run. He says, dude, that point where you can't go anymore. And, there's nothing better for me than hitting my dugout, my one hitter. What do you do? I'm like, dude, when I get to that point and I don't know if I can go anymore, I know I'm never going to rifle through a dumpster and eat a fucking rotten potato again. And he's like, whoa, dude, that's really deep. I said,
Yeah,
it's the
that'll
truth,
put a
though.
fire under your ass.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, it's the truth. And, I'll never do that again. I know I won't, you know,
Yeah.
and
Well, and now too, I mean,
That's like
that's part of like the
that's
ultra
like
community too. Like you have such a huge community of people around you that like, and you're such a intertwined into all of it of being an inspiration to others and having all these other people. It's like, I don't know, it's just, an environment now that is like you want to be a part of, and it completely changes how you think about things.
yeah, it does. And thank you for those kind words. Like in November last year when I had that cancer diagnosis, I look back and I understand why I had the HIV diagnosis because I wanted to kill myself when I had the HIV. When I got the cancer diagnosis, I actually knew about 6 hours before we saw the doctor because of whatever it's called, my labs or the, what the hell is it called? Comes from Cleveland Clinic, but it's my charts, my
Oh
charts.
yeah.
So I already knew. I was reading the shit, and it's like, yeah, you got cancer. I'm like, fuck, that sucks. Fuck, I got cancer. So when we're riding to the hospital or to the doctor's office, I told my friend, I go, I got fucking cancer, and she's like, why do you always got to be so negative? I'm like, nope. I looked at my charts. I have fucking cancer, and she's like, you do? I'm like, yeah, but who cares? I said, we're going to see the doc. He's going to tell me. And I said, and when we got up to the doctor, he tells me, I'm like, yeah, I know. I said, I saw it on my charts. He goes, damn those things. They can
Yeah.
be good or bad. And he said, well, here's what we're going to do. And I'm like, it's prostate cancer. It's cancer light. And he said, Robert, you have cancer. There's no laughing matter about it. I said, well, you know what? I got to look at me. The last 6 to 8 months, I've been a whiny bitch about not having a person in my life, living alone, blah, blah, blah. Right. And I looked at him and my friend in the office and I said, God's just sending me down and saying, you got this very treatable cancer. Stop being a bitch. And when I put that thought in my mind, it's just like, whatever, we'll get through this. And it sucked. It was, there were tears at night when I was alone, tears at night when I was pissing myself,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
tears at night trying to sleep with a fucking catheter. Trust me,
Oh,
yeah. And, but I did 18 days later after the surgery, I was running. They told me I wouldn't be running for at least 90 days, but I did it with their approval too. I mean, they knew how good a shape I was in. And I'm not like most people that have prostate surgery. I'm
oh
not
yeah.
older, like, and a couple of things like, had this been 15, 18 years ago, they wouldn't have done surgery on me with HIV because I would have been at life expectancy.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that came from the doctors, you're like, holy fuck. The miracles that happen, I've had HIV be 13 years in March, and if that would have been, like they said, 15 to 18 years ago, they would have just let me live with the cancer, which it's not a fast spreading cancer anyways. Prostate isn't, but they wouldn't have done the surgery. They wouldn't have paid for it. Insurance wouldn't have.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, so all the pieces that line up in my life, I'm very grateful for everything I have. I
Yeah.
can
And
be
also,
arrogant ass. Yeah.
that's just another stat on the resume. Cancer, beat that, came back, did even crazier shit. It's never ending list you got.
It is. I mean, yeah, it's funny that I'm doing a podcast with you because a friend of mine asked me to speak tomorrow night at a 12-step recovery meeting. So, so I'm doing that as well. So it's humbling to be able to do these things and have maybe at least people listen to me. I don't know if they believe me sometimes, but
That's up to them. They can, don't matter,
yeah, exactly. It doesn't anymore. It really doesn't. So what's next on your agenda?
Oh man, I mean, for now, I don't know if I see myself really doing many races this year. I'm not sure if I'll do any. I want to get in really, really good training this winter, and I want to I really want another 100 miler. I want to make an attempt early next year. I'll have to see
Okay.
what's on the race docket, but I want to make an attempt early next year and get at least one in because and I guess it's kind of a side note. I am changing jobs. I'm actually just about to transition into a new job that will give me way more time to run and train. So I'm hoping to really get in some really good training over the next few months and tackle a 100. And I'm going to see how everything plays out. But I have the hopes of I've set a goal for myself that like in the next 5 years I want to go for a 200-mile race. So I'm hoping to get several 100 milers underneath my belt and really get solid on it. Figure out my nutrition so that my stomach's not
Right.
fucked up all the time.
Yeah, I'll
And
send you
yeah,
that link for the Scratch Lab stuff. It's a little
yes, I would appreciate
pricey.
that.
I mean, it's a little pricey, but the way I kept buying it anyways because how I got to justify the price if I can run and
Yeah,
not be sick. You know,
yeah.
it's the first thing I found, and I've been using it since end of May, beginning of June, and still not one stomach issue
Yeah,
at all.
I'm really down to. I've never done a lot of experimentation with consuming a lot of liquid calories. So it sounds something because I did a podcast with Heath
Oh
Goshorn.
yeah,
Did with
yeah,
him, and he was talking about he used strictly liquid calories all of
yeah,
Eagle Up, and he switched to that. So it's something I've been
yeah.
wanting to
I
look
mean,
into.
so does Arlen. So does Arlen.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the elites do. Not that we're elites, but it can't hurt to try them.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I
yeah.
figured.
Heath ran with me on I think day 5 or 6 of when I was doing that 23 miles. So he's amazing young kid.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
he's gonna be fucking some
yeah.
shit up.
He is. Yes. Yep. Yep. And he dropped at he was in first place at Tuscazor, but he dropped at mile 40. That's how I ended up in first place when I dropped at 50. Yeah, he just was not feeling it that day, and you know, and I get it. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
we all get it. Yeah, yeah. So my the one goal that I do have is the BQ. I want to run Boston finally, and like my two friends, Amanda and Summer, they're like my two best running buds. Amanda is at a 3:35 for Boston, and Summer's at a 3:30. And at my age, I'm at 3:35. So
oh
we're all
yeah,
going to train together and run together. So yeah, yeah, that's our goal together next year is to find to BQ and then go there in 2025.
yeah. Add more to the resume. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
just cool
I didn't
stuff.
ever want to do it. Yeah, I didn't ever want to do it at one time, but I mean, it's Boston, you know.
Yeah,
It is. It's expensive, but it's a memory, you know.
yeah.
Especially if
Can't
I
put a
can go
price
with
on them.
two. Exactly. Especially if I can go with two people that I'm training and running with, you know, that believe in my coaching and you know, and they make me look good because they're pretty hot, both of them. And Cindy, my girlfriend knows them both, and she's fine with it too. That's the cool thing, and because I mean, it's just fun to have friends that there's no sexual tension. You just have a blast running with.
Yeah,
And I'll
yeah,
call you out on your bullshit, or you can, when you're going through shit, you got somebody. You know, I grew
yeah.
up with
Those
nine
friends
sisters.
are the most valuable thing you can have in
Yeah,
life.
I grew up with nine sisters, and my mom tells me that's why I'm able to run with some of these girls or women, whatever, because I grew up knowing to listen to women. Believe it or not,
You were trained.
even though I had a lot of shitty relationships, mostly because of my addiction, I do listen and I see women differently, I think, because growing up with nine sisters.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. I think that wraps this up pretty much.
All right,
And
cool.
dude, I mean, you're an amazing person, and I
Well,
appreciate the
thank
fuck
you,
out
Wes.
of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now you got my phone number too. So come up here for a training run
Yeah, yeah. I've been meaning to. Yeah,
or just a
I
fun
should be.
run. Just a fun run. Not training, just a fun run.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, with the new job I have too, I have like way more time that I'll be having, so I should be able to get down and have
Awesome.
some fun runs and stuff.
And there will be a 24-hour treadmill fundraiser coming up before the end of the year or right after the first of the year, like I do every year. I haven't picked a charity yet, but there will be one. like I do every year.
Have to get down there. Yeah. Well, I'll be looking out for that then, because I would love to come down and run a few miles with you.
Cool. Yeah, it's fun. It is fun. It tears me up, but I mean, the last one we did, I mean, when idiot like me can go on a treadmill for 24 hours with people, and we raised $10,500 together
I mean,
for children with life-changing illnesses. That's
how can you not?
exactly. It's amazing that, it's that part is humbling too, because it goes on Facebook, and a lot of people that knew me from my hometown knew me through, like, I mean, my flat out thievery days. I got 38 incarcerations and stole people's identity, did a lot of shitty things. To be able to go on Facebook and have those people from my home community donate money to them, ask money, and they'll donate. That's very humbling.
That's huge.
Yeah, that's why I like doing that stuff. It's very cool. It's a 360-degree circle. I'm back where I belong.
Yeah, all full circle.
Yeah.
I mean, and if anyone wants to find you on social media, what's your Instagram? I forget.
At BFM65.
Okay, and then Bob Mohr on Facebook.
Yep, MOHR. Yep.
All right, man.
All right, cool, Wes.
Thanks so much.
All right. I'll be in touch. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Thanks for all you do for all of us too in the community. You're a cool dude. I'm glad we met.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll be catching you later. I'll let you know when this comes up.
Okay.
Everything.
Okay, cool. Talk to you later.